ultimately, the second half of Homovic's intervention really continues to focus on the concept of the intervention, the concept of the hacker, and the way that a hacker can play on the internet. Interestingly, this kind of develops the idea of the digital world and the real world being different. As Kalamati pointed out in Camera Creatures, the difference between what happens in the computer world is still real, it's just not in the real world necessarily. You can really tell that throughout a lot of this book that he's really going back in history a lot. The guy really knows his stuff, and he's going back a long time to cover a lot of different trails. I found this fun picture to illustrate that point. Anyway, one of the things that he discusses are moos. Homovic seems like he is not only a moo enthusiast, but that he was one of the earlier people who was able to play with it. So I would say that he is exactly the kind of electrate scholar that was causing the intervention before he was even able to write about it. Interestingly, though, this kind of opens the exigence of the notion of the hacker. Now, without applying any ethical implications, hackers are not necessarily bad, but they are kind of the electrate inventors that are called for in this. The only computer-based experience I have for this comes from back in the day when I played Unreal Tournament. Various players would try to hack the system by using OpenGL codes that would cause different shapes to pop up of the various players other than ourselves. This caused a lot of problems in the league that I was in because we would have to take screenshots of our page before and after we logged out during tournament play, and you couldn't drop out and then relog back in. I was in a clan called WBK, and in one season we won 27 matches in a row. Now, this was basically done by going into the games and dominating them. But other players would go into the OpenGL registers and on their video cards, and they would tweak them. That's kind of unethical. Our ratings and such were kept online, and ultimately this kind of hacking really led to the downfall of the Fragged Nation League that we participated in, and it really made the game a lot less fun, although I'm sure it was interesting for the hackers at the time. That's not quite what we're calling for in the intervention, though. We're calling for the person that will get in and play the game according to the rules, and then kind of rewrite the rules. So it's not necessarily cheating, but it's reinventing things. Again, the notion of the game and in the real world, they really need to be differentiated here. Homovic really points out the discussion of doom and how that allegedly makes people more violent or whatnot. And certainly there are various studies that corroborate different instances of that. But ultimately, the agency is still on the person that is taking the actions. Music, much the same way. Music is being panned as being that which causes people to be violent and to do anything. As far as that is concerned, you can label anything and say that its effect on society is bad or good, depending on how you want to look at it. The rock and roll music has always been around, and basically whatever is unfamiliar to the current generation must be bad because, hey, they're not familiar with it. So if I'm not familiar with it, it must be bad, right? Because otherwise I would be familiar with it. So we can't really touch on this without thinking about the murders in Norway. I heard Cynthia Haynes speak the other day about endgame rhetoric and theorycraft, and I've really not been able to get much away from that because she's applying the concept of gamer theory to real life training, which again kind of strikes out the difference between reality and virtual reality. The virtual is not so virtual anymore. Okay, so drawing back towards my personal experience, the only other thing that I've hacked very much are paintball guns. Featured is myself with a Sniper 2 autococker. This gun retailed for about $330, and it was very quick, and it's not uncommon to take the front part off and add a pump handle. So as you can see in this picture, there are pneumatics and tubing and whatnot, and that's all very nice and good, and it makes the gun shoot very nicely. But what's better than a gun that shoots fast, that shoots well and shoots accurately? How about a gun that shoots slowly, fast, and accurately? It's kind of the ultimate nod towards kind of stepping back and then playing the game at a harder angle. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun to shoot someone with a one-shot, one-kill than it is to spray them down with a line of paint. And this, I think, is kind of representative of the hacker ethos. It's all about the challenge. It's all about whatever kind of thing is inside of the institution and can reach out. It's really a very interesting phenomenon how the different things that we do cause us to kind of be like the squid in the building. We're reaching out, and we can create things. That's ultimately the call of this. We got to harvest all of our arms, and we have to take up the blocks, and we have to create things. That seems to be what Homovic's calling for in his intervention. And this book, I think, is largely a challenge for us to do just that.